All right, so we are in Dubai, people, and here are two of my favorite people in the world, Mr. David Edelman and the one and only Kelly Close. So since well, we've been here for about the same time, and Kelly, some of your team at Close Concerns have been on the ground for quite a while. So I'd love to hear your take on things that have stood out for you so far at World Diabetes Congress. I mean, like anything that has jumped out at you.
You know, it's been really interesting, Manny, since we were on the plane together and landed on, when did we land? On Sunday night. Coming in, I think it's been pretty amazing to hear about how the whole landscape of diabetes has really changed in, say, the last 5 years since incretins have come on the market. And of course, where we are here, I'm always reminded how lucky we are in the U.S.
Sorry, what's an incretin?
So an incretin is GLP-1 or DPP-4 inhibitor. Incretins are new classes of drugs that are much easier to take, and it's really just been interesting to hear people talk here.
They're a suppository.
So, well, I wouldn't say that. So, it's been really interesting to hear people talk about how much easier drugs are to take and how much better people do, right? If they don't have hypoglycemia all the time and they're not gaining
What's
weight.
an example of one of these, or a couple of examples?
Januvia, as an example, right? So Januvia came on the market in 2006. It sold $42 million worth of drugs the first year. We think this class at the end of 2011 will have sold 5.5 billion, right? So that gives you a little bit of a sense of growth. This has been mostly in first world countries, of course, but we know the power of getting in control early on when you're diagnosed with diabetes, and so I think there's a lot of power there. For sure, in very poor countries, it's amazing. I mean, people, of course, here don't even all get insulin, don't get the right kind of insulin, don't get blood glucose monitors, don't get strips. We are reminded all the time how lucky we are in the U.S. We also know, as a planet, it's all about getting people in control early. We heard Dr. Ralph DeFronzo, you know, perhaps one of the most celebrated researchers on the planet, say yesterday in a session, there is no way that we're going to be able to prevent diabetes or control diabetes using lifestyle only. It has to be lifestyle and drugs, because we have not been successful. Since I was diagnosed, there were 35 million people in the whole world with diabetes when I was diagnosed in 1986, and now we know there are how many, David?
366 million.
Yeah, better get the number right.
We tag teamed pretty well there, right?
Well, we did. Jean-Claude Mbania, current president of the International Diabetes Federation, noted when I said 360 million, and I was completely incorrect.
366.
That's a million lives. I mean, just 6 million. That's a whole state.
It's pretty crazy, and that kind of growth in 25 years, we can just see where the world is going. So, don't you think? I mean, we need like a Gandhi, we need a Mother Teresa, we need someone who has truly global thinking on how to lead us out of this, right?
And yes, and what's really kind of, to me, remarkable about this Congress is that there are so many people here who are so passionate and so driven to really push the boulder up the hill. I mean, getting the UN to do anything, getting these countries that don't want to spend a nickel on anything to say that, you know, it's worth it for us to invest hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in things like lifestyle and access to drugs and building gyms, building clinics. I mean, these are things that pay off 30 years in the future.
Absolutely.
And how do you do that? And you see there's 15,117 or so people here that really are just live and breathe hope and the potential that we all have to change the world, people with diabetes.
I mean, let me ask you something. I mean, like, because this is a conference that is taking place in non-U.S. soil.
Yeah.
So there are, first off, there are some companies represented here that we don't see in the U.S. because they don't do business, at least not in diabetes, in the U.S. And then there are companies that we are accustomed to seeing in the U.S., like Medtronic and so on, but who can present to the attendees here with some technologies that actually have been around. I mean, like, you know, how does that, I mean, I'm kind of like laying out the question in a rhetorical way because
How
it,
cool
right,
is it to see low glucose suspend and better sensors
I
here?
know, right.
yeah, right.
It is amazing. It is amazing, and to see a lot of monitors that haven't been approved in the U.S. To see drugs that haven't been approved in the U.S. There's Nigerian, right? There's, as you said, the Veo. There's a bunch of different technologies and therapies that are coming here and all over the world first, which is really disappointing from a very selfish perspective. But it's also great to see the power that is, the power that is coming out of these companies, even in the place, even if it's not in the U.S.
I mean, to those that don't go to these events here or in the U.S., there really is, year after year, a sense of slow, painfully slow, but steady progress. When you look at what's available today, as you said, with whole, incretins, a whole class of drugs that didn't exist 6 years ago.
Yeah,
These are enormous changes. But to a lot of people out there, you go to the doctor, you go to your daily life, you get the sense that you've had diabetes for 20 years and nothing's changed, and the world's standing still, and that's really not the case.
But I think it's why you, David, and you, Manny, you guys are changing things big time. Because of the online community, patients also know that they can ask their doctors for things like this if they're lucky enough to be in a place where they have access to a doctor or where they have access to new therapies and technologies. I don't forget for a second that we are really lucky, but it used to be that people really didn't have the power to ask for things, and now they do, and we're much better off.
Yes.
Can we just take a quick moment? This was awesome. I was talking to Phil Sutherland, founder of Team Type 1, and he just got back from Rwanda, and last year I asked him about this program that he is part of putting together in Rwanda to take care of every single kid in that country who has type 1 diabetes.
Amazing.
And they were taking care of 400 kids. This year, they're taking care of over 600 kids. And that spread, 400 to 600, are 200 kids that were caught and diagnosed having diabetes in this span that would have died if it were not for this program they're putting in place. 200 children's lives that are saved. And each year, you're going to see this progress, this slow and steady progress, and you're going to see an entire country that changes because Phil Sutherland and a few like-minded people think it's worth it to spend months of every single year flying back and forth to that country, working with their medical teams, focusing on raising funding, on being sustainable, of getting their governments involved, and to really buy into what these programs can do. And there are, 200 and X countries out here that need programs like this, and you start in one, you move to the next, and you see the people. You walk around this, global diabetes village, and you see the people in every single country who are saying that my country is not going to have anyone who dies from diabetes.
Hugely committed. Yeah, it's been groundbreaking, amazing examples for all of us.
I stopped by the India booth not too long ago and was chatting to the lady there. She is a nutritionist at a clinic in Mumbai, and she was telling me about, they're plain aware of the fact that there is, just like we see in the U.S., a diminishing number of endocrinologists. So they have, consciously sought to develop the skills among a broader group of physicians, so that it is not only upon on the shoulders of endocrinologists that realize the care of people with type 1 or type 2 that are insulin dependent, but there's a larger number of so it was kind of interesting to see the reaction in her face when I described a bit of the gap that we have in terms of patients and number of available physicians to treat them and to work with them. What do you have in your hands, David? What is that?
This right here is the Peer Leader Manual, just released by the International Diabetes Federation. This is an attempt to show how peers, people with diabetes, people who live with the disease, can work with healthcare professionals and become part of the solution. And this is a guide for healthcare professionals for how they can get peers involved. And this is an enormous step forward. Now, this was done through the IDF, so this touches the American Diabetes Association. It touches potential future members of the International Diabetes Federation.
It's exciting because we all talked about this in San Diego earlier
So you can go
It's
to
a big deal.
the IDEA International Diabetes Federation in Google, type it in, and look for. I think they have a rotating thing on the homepage. Just wait till it says
Yeah.
Peer Leader Manual, and you can
Yeah.
download this. This is free to everybody. They actually have a ton of great stuff on that website.
It's no, you're absolutely right. It's idf.org. You know, and I think it just also reflects, for example, you know, this morning there was a session where Fran Kaufman spoke, Dr. Fran Kaufman, our huge inspiration. She spoke along with a philanthropist who's taking care of hundreds of girls in one of the Middle Eastern countries where girls would be allowed to die. They're diagnosed with type 1 and they would be allowed to die otherwise. So it was a physician, a philanthropist, a teacher, a nurse, a parent. I have that right? So many different varied views. That's very different actually from a traditional scientific meeting where it's all about scientists and researchers only speaking, and I think it's actually really great to see some parents given some room, you know, and to hear what philanthropists are doing. This also makes me think about this sign that we see outside, Kuwait National Bank, right, or Kuwait Financial Center. This is what would it be like if Goldman Sachs had a booth at ADA, right? So you see
That was my favorite tweet of the day.
more of the community here helping. Now, it is true that they have hospitals, but still, there's a lot that's different here that I think that we can learn from.
Well, and you mentioned all these different people there. I think I loved, I asked Jean-Claude Mbanya, the prince and professor, the ratio of IDF staff, people with diabetes, is about 1 to 10 million. That struck me as a kind of small number, and he said yes, but he noted that he is an unpaid volunteer, but that there are millions of us, these parents, these people with diabetes, the people who just go out and volunteer and care, that are also indirectly part of this IDF organization. Really, anyone out there who wants to participate, you know, it's what, you know, my wife Elizabeth has type 1 diabetes. What right do we have to come out here and do this? You know, it's not, you don't get permission to do it. You just go out there and say, I'm going to make a difference. And, you know, I think just seeing everyone here who are just here to fight.
And you guys are in such a big way. Where is Elizabeth? I was hoping that
we lost her, and it's
session here with Manny.
And well, we had a problem with the sheikh, the crown prince came by.
Oh yes.
And the crown prince is awfully distracting to beautiful young ladies. And
yes.
And
Yes,
I did
I saw
my
him.
3-year-old girl did say that I should marry some princesses while I was out here as her final farewell words. And so maybe Elizabeth is working on the princes. So.
David, there's no way that would ever happen. Trust me. Trust me. Manny, what has been the most interesting sort of things that you've been thinking since
That's a
you've
good
been here,
question.
that you have seen since you've been here?
Wearing the glasses. Well, one thing that's been very different to me has been the Global Village. Been very special. The opportunity, each of the booths, they're very simple, very balanced. You know, no booth like stands out more than the other one. You have a space which you can decorate as a country, association, in any way you choose, and then you go from one booth to the next, and you can experience a little bit of the culture, the uniqueness, the specific challenges and solutions that they are crafting to help their patients in every region. So it's been very special, and you can get a flavor for how to communicate in spite of language barriers. I had a very funny experience getting in touch with a gentleman at the Poland booth. I was talking English and he was talking Polish, and I think we communicated. So the other thing that has been pretty interesting to me has been the fact that I think the industry side, although in terms of content, is not unlike, except for those technologies that are not available in the US, but it's not unlike the type of setting that you can see at, say, an ADA conference. It is a bit more modest. And to me, that's a big deal. I mean, like, because the truth is that money that goes into gigantic displays and huge marketing, you know, like setups, is money that doesn't go into something else for furthering, the drug, or so I was pleased to see that it was a bit more of a modest setup in that respect. It has been incredibly inspiring to hear, the individuals I've had the chance to hear this past couple of days. And just recently having finished an interview with Professor Mbanya, a person that has just boundless optimism, and that gets you to truly believe that maybe not tomorrow, but eventually change will happen. And it is upon us to take that, believe it, and run with it and do our part. And one final thing today in the session where he was debating with a former president of IDF that I thought was a very powerful session. By the way, the moderator of the debate was a past president, Dr. Martin Selink.
Yeah.
The counterpart to Professor Mbanya was a past president, and then there was Professor Mbanya, and he kind of wrapped up by saying, truly, all of this that has happened in connection with the UN NCD summit and any kind of statement, documents, or position papers or whatnot, at the end of the day, depend upon us to really act on diabetes, to act on things and make pressure, and not just like expect things to happen for us. And I think the metaphor extends beautifully from our disease towards like activism related to our disease. You cannot expect your diabetes to be managed by itself. You have to own it. You have to take it in your hands. You have to, check your blood sugar, take your medication, your shots, whatever. Do what you need to do, and learn as much about yourself and about all these things affect your body, your blood sugar, your everything. In the same way, we cannot expect things to happen for us. We need to learn a lesson from the book, a page from the book of cancer or HIV, where the patient community really has risen to the challenge and taking a more active role. And so there is a big responsibility that is on our shoulders, and we need to act on it. And I think that was a very powerful message that resonated for me. So. Anything else?
Do you have any thoughts on the, did you spend any time in the Global Village?
I did. The Global Village is really powerful. I mean, I think you see in so many small countries just a couple of people working in them telling you about the needs in their country, and it's absolutely humbling looking at what all of them are doing. I think just to pick up on something that Manny was just saying, I think it's really important for us as patients to try and work out how do we try to work with governments all over the world, right? Because so as a patient, you can kind of think, oh, well, I can do this or that, and is it really going to affect me in 10 years? And it's often hard for me to think, okay, focus. Make sure that I'm staying as healthy as I possibly can, not just for my kids and my family, but for myself, so that I am not causing expense to my own government, right? We all know diabetes has basically become a taxpayer issue in the United States because it's so expensive, right? But I think it's very hard to think about all of those expenses 10 years out. By the same token, I think it's really hard for governments all over the world to think about, wow, what can they do now to prevent all of these expenses in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's really far down the line, and I don't think many governments are really thinking about that or putting nearly enough prevention efforts into play, and that's what I would love to see us do everywhere.
It seems like the consequences are often past the end of their elected term.
Yes.
So, you know, why are you going to help the next guy have a high popularity
Yeah,
rating?
that's right. That's exactly right. Like the implications for all of us of what we do today, we can't necessarily see what it is 10 years down the road, and I think that's the same thing for governments, which is really dispiriting. But on the other hand, I mean, look at all of the people that are coming together here and really getting in place. We want to prevent, not just prevent diabetes, but prevent all of the complications and all of the expenses, because this thing is just spiraling out of control. So that's something that I'm thinking about a lot, and I would say, you know, just the other thing from being here at IDF, just seeing, wow, there is so much happening on the research side, and I really want to support industry, because industry is the one, they're going to put more and more into helping fight this. And I'm actually really happy. I totally agree with you, Manny, about seeing the more modest scale of the exhibition hall here. The exhibition hall is actually a lot busier here as well than it has been in various meetings in the U.S. and in the U.S. in particular, and that's great to see. But you know, I think when I see a big booth, I don't necessarily. That's not actually always isn't negative to me either, because all I want all of the companies to collaborate, you know, to collaborate even more, to work together, to send much more money into R&D, because God knows we need it, and we need better therapies and technologies, and we need them accessible to everyone on the planet, you know, not just to those of us who are lucky enough to have access in the U.S.
And do you have any particular news, maybe not related to the Congress, that you would like to share? Would you like me to share them? Or
Well, absolutely. I should say that I'm very proud to be joining David and to be joining you, Manny. It's a huge privilege to say that I'm being asked this wonderful question, which is to come on the board of Diabetes Hands Foundation. And what an amazing honor, and I'm looking so forward to spending more time with both of you in the coming weeks, months, and years.
We are so excited. I mean, Kelly has been an incredible advisor, mentor, an example in so many ways, and to now be able to have her join our board and help us, like, you know, move to the next level, hopefully, and grow and continue to evolve, so we can help connect more people to diabetes and raise even more diabetes awareness, you know, so support the growing needs that we are seeing and that we want to be prepared for supporting. It's great to have you on the team.
Can I
Thank you
just
so much, Manny. Diabetes Hands Foundation,
Yay.
unstoppable.
And can we just say that when you look at passion per square inch and work output per square inch, Kelly might be the best ratio in all of the world of diabetes.
Oh,
Hands down.
that is too much. But I'm looking so forward to spending more time with both of you.
Do you want to talk to Kelly? Do you want to talk to
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye.